This is a YouTube intro, and I have nothing interesting to say. So you just started playing Warframe and made the mistake of choosing Mag or Vault as your starter frame and are looking for tips on how to properly mod them out. Well, fuck you, we're doing the one frame that everyone picked. Thank you China for the suggestion. Now let's go ahead and get started with how I built Excalibur. Before we do that though, how do you get his parts? Assuming you didn't start the game as Excalibur, his parts can drop from the Ambulance Assassination mission on Pluto and... oh, that one's a real grind. Not only is this among the higher level assassination missions, which generally require a somewhat decent loadout since many of the stronger units spawn frequently, but the fight itself can be a bit of a pain in the ass, and so is getting to the mission itself. First thing you'll need is 40 Animo nav beacons, which will essentially be the entry fee for the mission. To get these, you'll need to play open air Corpus missions, those being the ones that are set in outside environments with the Corpus faction. During these missions, a Corpus dropship will occasionally arrive to drop an Amulus proxy unit. Defeating them and hacking them will reward you with what seems to be 5 Animo beacons per kill, and I think more if you're playing co-op. Don't quote me on that because I'm mainly a solo player and rarely play with random squads. If I had to suggest a mission to farm on, I'd do the Outer Terminus node on Pluto. Be sure to bring a tanky frame if you have one. The boss fight itself, as I said, is a bit of a pain in the ass. The fight involves defeating multiple Ambulus units, all of which having more armor than the ones that you fought for the Animo beacons, hacking them, and defending them from enemy Ospreys who will try to fix the units you defeat. The fight's over when you allow Corpus ships to take 4 fully hacked Ambulus units, which destroys the ship in the background. So yeah, if you made the mistake of picking anyone but Excalibur when you first started Warframe, good luck. If you're looking to pimp your loadout with Excalibur Prime, well, unless you're a founder who plays on PC, you're shit out of luck, but Excalibur Umbra is soon to be released on PC with the Plains of Eidolon with the console updates to follow soon after. So if you're looking for that Space Ninja swagger, that'll be your chance. That was an entire page worth of explaining a retarded boss fight, so I guess we can finally talk about Excalibur's abilities. The first of which being Slash Dash. I won't lie, I preferred the way the skill worked way back when Warframe was still new. Back then, you would just rush ahead, blade in hand, slicing everything in your way, but now it picks targets one at a time in a cone in front of you and doesn't look nearly as cool. Excalibur's second skill is one that a lot of people, myself included to an extent, build entirely around. Radial Blind does exactly what it sounds like. It blinds anyone and anything around you, opening them up to finisher attacks. Given how reliant Excalibur is on melee attacks, you'll find yourself casting this skill a lot to either render an entire room defenseless against whatever makes your arsenal tick, or keep your team safe from stray bullets. The third skill, which at one point was Excalibur's ultimate ability, is Radial Javelin. Instead of blinding all surrounding enemies like Radial Blind, Radial Javelin instead hurls a bunch of blades at surrounding enemies, pinning those that are killed to the wall and stunning those who survive. While it does add that inherent cool factor to a battle, unless you have the augment for it, it isn't a very good replacement for Radial Blind, especially when the majority of your ability damage will come from Excalibur's next ability, Exalted Blade. Activating Exalted Blade is like going Super Saiyan. Not only do you summon an ethereal blade that shoots projectiles with every swing like the Bloodskull blade from Skyrim, but it also enhances the power of Slash Dash, has a built-in Radial Blind at half the cost whenever you do a slide attack, and has increased slam and finisher damage as well as an auto parry for any frontal projectile attacks. Now that we've had a good look at Excalibur's skills, let's see how I modded him. Since Excalibur is primarily based around melee combat specifically with swords, the only aura mod that I feel was feasibly usable with him is Steel Charge, which not only boosts melee damage but also adds more mod slots than any other aura. Of course, we have some obligatory mods that you'll find me using on almost all my frames like Vitality and Primed Flow, so let's get to the real meat of my modded Excalibur. Now I've built him mostly around his fourth ability, Exalted Blade, and since that's a channeled ability, meaning that instead of a base energy cost, it continuously drains energy as you use it, the first concern when building Excalibur is managing that drain. Channeled abilities in Warframe are a bit weird in that you can reduce the drain with both duration and efficiency mods. So I use both Streamline and Fleeting Expertise at max rank for the efficiency on Exalted Blade, as well as reducing the cost of its built-in Radial Blind, and I use Continuity to sort of even out the duration. It works better if you have primed Continuity, but I've yet to see Barrow sell the damn thing. Anyway, after the energy drain was taken care of, I wanted to make sure that the range of Radial Blind was taken into consideration since that's your only means of real crowd control. So a simple stretch mod did the trick. The obvious final step was to make sure that Exalted Blade, Slash Dash, and Radial Javelin hit as hard as possible. The two strength mods I use are Intensify and Blind Rage. If you watch my previous build, then you know exactly what Intensify does and where you can get it, but Blind Rage is one of the corrupted mods like Narrow-Minded and Fleeting Expertise, and offers a substantial boost to power strength at the expense of power efficiency. For this configuration, I have Blind Rage at rank 7 to account for how badly it hurts my efficiency. The final mod which I put in the Exiler slot is Power Drift. The small bonus to power strength is great for Excalibur since his utility comes from his ability damage, but I mainly use this mod for the knockdown resistance, as frames who make it a point to jump right into the fray with high damage abilities can be killed with ease thanks to that one stray Bombard Rocket or cheeky Ancient that gets a little too touchy-feely. So any defense against these roadblocks is wonderful. Finally, let's briefly touch on the main loadout I use with Excalibur. Since he's the head honcho of Warframe's marketing, and he's almost always seen with a Bratton in hand, I opted to use the Bratton Prime. It may not be top tier like the Boltor or Soma Prime, but the Bratton Prime is a pretty good status weapon. The secondary I chose was the Twin Grakata, aka the Daka Daka Bullet Hose. It's not the best weapon by any means, especially with its ammo issues even with a pistol mutation mod, but boy is it satisfying to put over 150 bullets in someone in 3 seconds. Obviously the melee weapon used here was the most important decision to make, since not only does Excalibur deal more damage with swords specifically, but some of the mods on your melee weapon of choice also carry over to Exalted Blade. I chose to use my personal favorite sword in the game, the Destreza. I chose the crit-based rapier weapon as opposed to its status-based counterpart, the Endura, because a Blood Rush Berserker built melee weapon carries its swing speed buff to Exalted Blade, allowing you to mow down crowds with dozens of sword swipes in seconds. And from there, I think that's where we'll stop. Now I know I said I'm open to suggestions for what frame to make a build for next, but I think it'll make things a bit awkward if I'm taking suggestions for build now for a build video to follow the next one. So for now, just save your suggestions for the next build video that I make on Warframe. It'll make it a bit easier to follow. Speaking of the next build video, the next frame I'll be covering is Oberon, which I'm actually really excited to do because with his new rework, I think he's in a much better spot. Again, don't worry about leaving your suggestion in the comments of this video, leave it for that Oberon video. And until then, I'll see you in the next video.